All right. Welcome to the Runners Connect podcast. And this is me introing it for the first time. No pressure. Freddy said it's fine. So if I get it wrong, I'm blaming Freddy, maybe a bit of Scott as well. But tonight we have our other co-host, which is not me, which is the wonderful and lovely Kayleigh, who I am now going to pass this over. So I'm going to pass the buck over to Kayleigh to introduce herself. So it gets me out of this situation.
I like that. Thanks, Jamie. Hello, I'm Kayleigh. I'm sure most of the listeners know us anyway. I'm on my own tonight. I haven't got my partner in crime. I'm just one of those two runners. And I watched the last podcast and saw that I'm the girl that's coming to sprinkle the feminine touch, apparently. I had to find me feminine touch first before I can speak. But no, thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. And I'm going to pick you up, Jamie. You called it the Runners Connect podcast. We're trying to get away from that, so you messed it up straight away when you first go at it. It's the RCC podcast.
So sorry.
We'll let you off. We'll let you off for your first one.
How is everybody? It's the pressure.
Yeah.
Scott, that's looking like a nice room you're in.
This is the room I've been working on for the last week. As we've said just before we started recording, I had last week off to try. We had an issue over January and the cold snap and basically ruined the electrics in the house. So I used it as an excuse to rip out this room. I've always wanted my own cinema, so we've made a cinema in the extension. And I love it, but the problem is I've now got a mess in the rest of the house because I've been doing one room, it's spread. So I'm in the tidiest room in the house by a long way. On an iPad for once as well, because the internet's been playing up.
I bet that's probably the most used room now as well, is it? I bet that's probably the most used room now as well, is it?
Yeah, since it was finished Friday last week, I think we spent every night in here. I was watching those two runners' latest update on YouTube on the 100-inch screen, which is behind where he's at yesterday. And I've sent Kayleigh a picture, so technically Kayleigh's a Hollywood star now because she's been... Sounds wrong, but you were up on my wall.
Well, I can't turn my camera and show you, but I was talking about his Audrey Hepburn poster, which is not running at all. I love Audrey Hepburn, but behind my wall, I've got this whole wall's wallpapered with Audrey Hepburn. So we've got a bit of a theme, but I can't show you because I can't turn my camera around. But
love it.
No exciting running news from me, mate. Sorry, it's been a really quiet week, DIY and real life stuff. As much as I'd love to be reporting back exciting running stuff, I've been pretty boring this week.
Well, I know I just told you before we started recording, but I am going to mention it again now to prove that he is real, because I hope he leaves a comment if he does. But I was at Whitley Bay Park Run on Saturday, and I went down with Colin. Colin is actually the guy that I met about 2 years ago at Whitley Bay Park Run, and he's the guy that got me to join a running club after persistently asking me for about a year. And then I finally buckled and went and joined one. But Colin said to me that, first of all, he said you are quite funny, which I disagreed with, but, you know, different horses, different courses. Yeah. But he said he thinks it's great that you keep supporting people in their own running achievements. Like you've helped James out. You've obviously come running with me on my PB attempts and what have you. But he said, actually, I think Scott could be quite a cheeky runner and get some good times. And he wants to see how fast you can go. So no pressure, but it's on video now. We want you to commit yourself to something, to say, yep, I'm going to target this.
Okay, as Colin may be real now, because I claimed he might just be fictitious, so you push me in to put the camera in front of my face. If Colin's real, which I assume he is now, and on camera, I will try and do a sub 22-minute park run by the end of this year. And I'm going to lean on Mrs. Pickersgill here and ask if I can borrow a husband for a bit of a training mentor. And after the E word that we're not going to mention, after that race in June, then I'll focus on the sub 22 minutes. If I can do it, I'll be buzzing at 45 and a bit years old.
That'd be awesome. Okay, it's committed.
I think you'll...
Yeah, you'll be right.
I think so too. I think we'll be going quicker than that, to be fair. But we'll see what happens. That'd be awesome.
It needs to get some carbon shoes though. It's not possible without carbon shoes, is it?
it's what you want to without carbon shoes. It's not a good excuse to go and buy some.
I know.
Or some more, should I say.
And you don't own any, do you?
I do own a pair of Bostons that are broken, and I own a pair of hand-me-down Puma Deviates that Freddy gave me, which work absolutely fine. So I'll just use them.
Yeah. They're a good shoe.
Yeah.
But speaking of park runs and PBs and stuff, Freddy, I didn't do it in carbon shoes. I did it in a pair of Brooks Ghost Max 2 Saturdays ago, and you ran it in your carbon shoes, and you had quite a successful morning out.
I did, mate. I had a really good morning out. I got to take my Pro 4s, my Adios Pro 4s for their first proper spin out and see how I was feeling, because I spoke to you, probably 2 or 3 weeks before that, and said, right, I quite fancy a bash at a 5K again, but this time I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm doing it, apart from yourself. So there's no pressure on me whatsoever. And let's pop along and see what happens. And it was my day, really. The weather was pretty much perfect for running. There was no wind. It was chilly, but it was just spot on. And actually, I'm going to try and take as much credit as I can for it. But I actually think them shoes are just ridiculously fast and make you feel that you're going really fast, which probably has a placebo effect and then gets you to go fast, you know. But yeah, we had a really good morning and came home in 23 minutes, 21 seconds. So over a minute quicker than I was aiming for, which...
Yeah, you were flying, and I genuinely tried. I wasn't blowing smoke. I genuinely tried to keep up with you. And that last 300 meters, you were so consistent. I've not looked at your splits, but I'm assuming they were bang on the same every single split, because there was just no letting up. You weren't draining. You weren't getting excited and going too quick because you could see the end. You were just constant. And I let you go. I just couldn't keep up. And I filmed the back of your head, and as a consequence of that, we've also discovered your camera's crap because it didn't capture any of it. So you've forked out for a new camera as well.
I have. I've upgraded straight away because I was sick of the GoPro being so unreliable that we got the first half of the race on video, but the second half we got a series of 3-second clips, which is really weird. So, yeah, within a few days, I was in Argos, actually, getting myself a DJI Action Pro.
Switched over to the dark side.
I have, yeah. And it's a really nice little camera. But no, that was a really, really good day. And I you talk about like my pacing. My pacing was pretty good. I did slow down probably a few seconds per kilometre each kilometre. So they did gradually get a little bit slower. But my first kilometre was far too fast. So that was always going to happen.
Yeah, I know that. I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think we agreed 450 something.
454 was the target.
Yeah, and we went off like a train, and we were hitting 430 for the first kilometre.
Yeah, I think I averaged out at something like 440 over the distance. So that was good. But weirdly, because I did really try and get my pacing to be consistent throughout the run, and I weren't far off it. But I will say that on the way around there, I had to really stop myself from going a bit quicker. I felt like, even as I crossed the line, I felt like, oh, actually, I've got a bit more in the tank there. I wasn't totally spent, but I was really fearful of going too fast and then blowing up at 3K or something. So I'd rather just get a PB, see how it feels. But again, without sounding big-headed, I was pretty confident that it was going to happen. The training was all indicating that it was, and actually, more importantly, or not more importantly, but it was the Garmin predictor that was giving me the confidence to know that, yeah, I was gonna get it, because the Garmin predictor for me has been fairly accurate, probably within about 10 to 20 seconds every time that I've used it. It's been fairly accurate, and that had me at I think it actually be at 24:20, something like that, 24:15 or something. So I knew it was in me, yeah. But it really excites me though more than anything else, because now I know that I can go a bit quicker than that, and I've dropped 38 pounds now, and if I've got another 20 odd pounds to lose, so just that alone is going to make a difference, isn't it? You know, regardless, even if the training stays as it is now, then it's going to get quicker. So no, it was a great day.
Yeah. There was no. It seemed effortless compared to the previous attempt where you looked broken because you did blow out at about 4K, didn't you?
did.
So, I mean,
did.
when I got back, and I was nearly a minute behind you by the time we finished, and you didn't even look like you'd done a park run. You were just beaming smile. I did capture that bit on camera. I'm sure I did. 'Cause I think
You did right at the end.
Yeah.
You did. Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it was a really, really good morning.
And then, Kayleigh, for people who have had a long break since the last episode you were on, you're training for something quite epic at the minute, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 2 weeks out from my first ultra, so 34 miles it is. Kingdom of Northumberland. It's a wild deer event, new ultra, and it's Bamborough to Druidge Bay. So I'm actually really excited for it. Like I feel like the hard bit of the training's done now.
You smashed like 27 miles in one run last week.
Yeah, I met Freddy for the last few miles, but he parked in Warwick, so I hit 26 miles, and he was like, "Yeah, Kayleigh, we need to run a couple more." I was like,
It's just what you want to hear, isn't it?
That's a massive training run.
to be that is like the peak of the plan that I was using was 26, so it was 24 to 26, but I decided to go and train on the course and follow the route because navigation isn't my strongest point. So I thought it'll give us a bit of confidence as well. But it's quite an easy route to follow, really. It's just down the coast. So it's a good sort of user-friendly one to get into, I think, for your first one.
Is it marked, the course?
It's going to be marked, yeah. But I thought going up and just following the course on my watch would, knowing that, yeah, it's still going to make it a bit more comfortable. So yeah, I was thinking we were just short of 27.7 or something when Chris picked us up. And I got every weather on that run. So I feel like whatever, I mean, unless it's horrendous wind, which I'm hoping it wasn't, but it was quite windy on the day where we did the run. I feel like I'm reasonably prepared. However, I had 16 mile to run yesterday and I did not want to leave my front door. And I'm never like that. I was just like, I just can't like run another long run. On.
You're in the taper now, aren't you?
Yeah, so that was the first week of taper. The 16 was the beginning, even though 16 is quite long. But I was saying to myself that week, oh, it's only 16 mile, which is bizarre in itself. And then it was like 10 mile easy with like 3 steady, 1 tempo, 2 easy. So I was like, oh, like it's such an effort. But actually, once I got out the door, the only problem was for the first time in the whole block, my stomach was a bit off yesterday. So it took us a long time before I even wanted to eat anything. And I just took gels because I thought it's 16 mile. It's not, you don't need to be heavily fueled. I'm not going to be out all day. I'm going to be out a few hours. And I had my second gel and I was like, oh, like, what's done? I couldn't even eat half of it. I was like, I just can't, like, but actually the run went really well. So now I'm like, once I've finished that, I was like, I feel really proud of myself now. Like I feel ready for this because this week I've got 10 mile as my long run, but
bonus. It's just like, 10 mile.
10 mile. 10 mile is what I would run on a day, like generally. Like if I was doing 8 to 10 is usually what I would do. So I was like, so I'm going to come and support you at Middlesbrough Half. So I'll be like, but I'm either going to do, we've got cross country on Saturday, which I'm not running because I'm too scared in case I roll my ankle. But I'm there doing admin, so I'm either going to do my miles on Saturday, so I can come watch you on Sunday, or I'll do a bit before and a bit after or something. But yeah, and then it's proper taper. It's like 20. One of my runs is 20 minutes easy. I've never had that. Like that's nothing. That's not even worth getting out the door for.
Yeah, it takes longer to put your shoes on.
By the time I run around the block, I'll be done. So yeah, that's what I'm training for, and I am genuinely excited. I'm staying at pretty much like at the start line as well. I decided last minute to stay over, because I thought I was in the really early starting wave, but I'm not. I'm in wave 2, so I could have come from home and got there in plenty of time. But
so is there a big field? Is it a new event? I've never heard of it.
It's brand new. I think it got announced about a year ago. I entered it straight away on a whim when I was in full. I just want to be Sally McRae mode, and I was like, I need to enter an ultra, and then sort of like always had it in my mind that was what I was going to train for. But I've been training for it since November now, so it feels like one, it's flown, but then the other side, it feels like it's all I've been training for like forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a new event this year. They do another one, I think, at like Derwentwater or somewhere in October. But this one, I chose it purely because of how beautiful I knew the route would be. Which, to be fair, it is because it didn't disappoint when I ran it. So yeah, I'm feeling quietly confident that all I wanted to do was complete it. I'm not going for like some stupid time or anything.
I will say that the last sort of few miles that I ran with Kayleigh, so she was already in the 20 odd miles when we met up, and all the way till the end. I know you still got another 6-7 miles to go at the end of that or whatever, but you looked really comfortable, and actually you looked pretty fresh. I know you probably didn't feel it at the time because it's a long time on your feet, but you did look really, really fresh and ready. You even said to me at the time that if you had to run to Druridge right now, you'd make it.
Yeah. I have looked back on that run and thought in some ways I wish that had been the race, because I did get out of the car and think I could keep going another 6 mile. Like it's really bad still. It's nothing, because for some people that's epic, but it's all relative. And I've really learned that with this training. Like, I mean, the most I'd ran before this block was 15 mile. I've never run a marathon. And I think it's been a really, really good, certainly for me, it's been a really good experience to go through. I've learned so much from this training, but touch wood, I hope it doesn't all fall to bits on the day, but everything's been okay. Like, I do pretty well with real food and stuff, so I haven't struggled with the food side of it. And I really, really enjoyed the training, because I just used the Ben Parks plan. I just downloaded one. I've used his like half marathon stuff before.
I use his plans.
Yeah, and I love the way he builds the mileage, Jamie. Like, it's just really suited us. And what I love about him is I've never felt like I've lost all of my speed, because he still puts sessions in. So you're not doing like half marathon sessions. Like the week after me 28 mile, I mean, I was shattered last week, and on Thursday I did tempo with Chris. It was like 3 or 4 mile of tempo, 4 mile, and Chris was like, "I've got an easy run, I'll pace you." Bit of a flex there. I'll pace you. Tempo on my easy. And honestly, by the 4th mile, I was really flagging. But like, I feel like coming out of this, once I've recovered, it's going to make it so much easier getting back into road stuff, because I don't feel like I've 100% lost all my pace. I've just more got a fear now of running fast than actually. The thought of running in zone 5 makes us want to vomit. Like,
But that was the bit that got me as well. That was what really impressed me, is when I met you, like I say, you're already in the 20-something miles. And yeah, we were walking up the hills and stuff, but the bits we were running, you were still putting a fair speed in there as well. We were doing 6-minute kilometres when we were running.
Yeah, I think that run I averaged about 12-minute miles, which, to be fair, I think as well, I did piss about a little bit as well, because obviously I was texting you, trying to find you, I was texting Chris. Yeah. So I wasn't as like full on as I would have been if I'd been.
How many photographs did you take?
Oh, like hundreds. But I will do that on the day. That is the sort of runner that I am. Like, if you're out in the trails, you would then have permission to take photos, as far as I'm concerned. Like, that is the best bit about it. But yeah, I've got a lot of that, and I did have the camera, so I did film a little bit, and I've got the videos coming out tomorrow, actually, because there is a bit where I had an encounter with some cows, which I won't spoil it, but I'm on my own in the middle of nowhere, and there's 5 cows looking at us, and they're loose. And like, if they run at us, a dog walker's going to find us. They have me just like lying in the field under a stampede of cows. But yeah, I did, like, yeah, I have felt pretty good through it. It's just maybe now we're in taper, but then from all my marathon running friends, I have it on good authority that you're meant to feel like rubbish in your first week of taper, so that made us feel a bit better.
I had a recovery week this week.
Yeah, we've had this discussion in a text.
Absolutely awful all week. Like, I can't, I don't know, every time I taper, I feel like death. I've got no speed. I don't, and this is not like me, like, as probably everyone in our group chat knows, is that I quite enjoy running. It's, I get quite excited. These guys haven't seen me at a race yet. I'm like a Duracell bunny. But in taper, I don't know, I get moody. It's just, and like, yeah, you go out like an 8K run, which is, we're going to use the term relative, literally nothing. And I'm like, struggle through, get to like 7K. I'm like, how long till I get home? Like, how long till I get home? I find my heart rate rises sometimes as well. And I overanalyze everything, and then I get sick as well. Apparently it's pretty common for a lot of people.
But what happened at the end of your taper, Jamie?
Well, it wasn't a taper, it was a recovery week. It was still a 70K week. but I ran.
What happened at the end of it?
I ran a half marathon. And it went, oh yeah, okay, yeah. I don't really want to talk about like me so much, like, but yeah, I went for my. I'm in case anyone doesn't know, I'm training for London. It's kind of like Scott with his. Scott, did you run? Was it Manchester at some point?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Oh,
I've never mentioned that.
Yeah, he mentioned it a couple of times. But I'm. This is Scott's version of Manchester. I'm running London, and I think I mentioned it once or twice. So as part of most marathon plans, I think they usually slot in like a half marathon. So like when I train for ultras, I tend to do a smaller ultra while training for the bigger ultra. Because I love racing. It's great fun, and I don't get that much chance to race all the time. So yeah, I got into the Wokingham half marathon to run a half marathon. And yeah, you do the usual thing of obsessing about the weather, which I spent, like, I'm sure you'll do this for your ultra, Kayleigh, but you've got like the Metopis app open, you're like refreshing it on a daily basis. And then, or if you're really sad, you have 2 weather apps and you compare them and you pick the better one. So I went with the Garmin weather because it was better, because it was apparently sunny. It was not sunny. But it didn't rain because I hate rain. But it was very windy. And it was just this really awful wind. And it was one of those winds where it never feels like you have a tailwind. You've always got a headwind. Apparently there was a tailwind. I'm saying people are lying. But yeah, anyway, so I went out this race, got mainly to try out my race kit, which is my Alpha Flies. You should try them, Scott. They're really nice. Great shoes. Instantly put them on, you get sub 22 5k, like instantly just by wearing them.
Can't be one of those people. No offense to anyone that is one of those people, but I can't go to my local park run in a £250 terrace.
£285, £285. Get it right,
James. You know, right? I'm sorry to. We will come back because I really want to see how you finish.
I'm quite happy.
But we went to park run on Saturday. Me and James. James got a PB and his Boston's. This week he's tapering because of the half marathon. So we did a really easy 7 miles on Sunday. And I said to James, look, it'd be really easy, nice and slow. Just get round, get the miles in the legs. He turned up at in his carbon rod Boston's. I think you've turned into one of them, haven't you? He's like, what? I went, you know this is an easy
they Boston's rod. Though? Boston's aren't carbon rod, they're glass fibre.
But they've got a carbon rod through them. They've got
glass fibre through them, not carbon.
Oh, well,
there's a big difference. Yeah, they're glass fibre, not carbon.
Either way, they're a racing shoe and they're a high-end racing shoe.
Dubious.
He turned up in them to do his really slow Lord Sunday. I said to him, you've turned into one of them. And he knew exactly what I meant.
To be fair, I know we got slightly off topic of what we were talking about, but I am kind of about this. I do, and Freddy, this is all Freddy's fault, so I'm blaming him. It's his fault, because I'm now a Boston convert. It's his fault. Like it's him. He's getting me in trouble with the wife because I'm buying all these stupid shoes. Because I found these red race car ones that I've showed him, and he's all down for that as well. Yeah, they look great. I'm buying them this week, and that's not a joke. But the Bostons, I do find, I don't know if you find this, Freddy, but I find if you're going for like a casual run, I do find them a bit hard. Like, it's hard to explain.
How many miles have you done in them?
I've done quite a few now, about 120k.
Okay,
like,
so normally about 50 miles is where I find that, because I've got 3 pairs now. About 50 miles in is when I think they start to soften up a bit. So you're probably at about the time now, because I'm obviously heavier than you, so that might happen sooner.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're a great shoe. I love them. I think they're brilliant, and they're really nice at like that sort of that middle distance speed. I'm not talking about race speed, but I'm like your top of your easy run speed. I'd say is where they really shine. But I find when I'm just going for like a recovery run, that I use something a bit squishier, maybe.
That's
so anyway, we've digressed massively. Finish where you were going with this.
Yeah.
You need to milk this because it's worth milking.
Oh, I'm very happy. I can't explain. So I went out with a specific goal. So I'm aiming for a sub 3 at London, which I really want. It's a lifetime goal for me. If anyone runs marathons, you probably understand how hard a sub 3 is to run. and I was aiming for a sub 125 at Wokingham, which is 401 kilometer pace per min. So which is what, 6:39 or something? Something along those lines. Mile pace, I think. And yeah, I finished in 123, which was
Wow.
357 kilometer average pace. So I was very happy with that. I
Amazing.
was pretty broken by the end. The last 2 kilometers was into like a headwind, and I was just but the whole time was like, I can't explain to you how solid that race went. Luckily, my friend who ran the race with me last year, he was there and he was going for a similar time. He's actually going for 250 at London, but he was running for a 123-ish. And we both ran side by side the entire time, pacing each other.
Did you just talk to each other at that pace, or did you just...
We did a little bit, but you are, as you can probably aware, are working at that pace, regardless of how fast you are.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to say a vowel, never mind a sentence.
Oh, we were chatting. So a couple of funny things happened. So first of all, I ran through the 10K point, and I don't race 10K races. I've got a 10K PB right through 10K. So my watch beeped to 39 minutes, which is, for my speed, is actually quite a slow 10K, because I just don't race 10Ks, like ever. I do one a year and it's like a trail, and so I just don't focus on them at all. And I was like, I just got a 10K PB. That was quite handy. But I felt great, like really, really strong. And then we turned around and went to this like long back straight, like the furthest bit out in the Wokingham half. And there was this like lake across the road. And I said, Nick, I cannot run through this lake because I'll get my shoes dirty. I said, I need to pick my way around. So we're running at like 350 pace at this point. And I'm like, we've got to take this route though, because I'm not getting them dirty. And he's like, what is wrong with you? We're running around this like water at like some stupid pace, looking like a bunch of idiots. And then on the way back, we were running through like towards town, and there was just like this headwind. I can't explain it to you. It was like running into a wall, and every single runner in front of me happened to be about 4'3", and there wasn't that many runners. So I'm trying to and my mate Nick is also only about 5'10" or something, and I'm 6'1" or 6 foot roughly, and I'm trying to like tuck in behind these runners, trying to like go from the window. They're all like just gathering around me. Like, bugger off, let me have some like. So yeah, and it was great. Got across the line. Had nearly hyperventilated when I got across the line. Got a 123. I bought a notch with the exact time on. I think it's 123.19 or something like that.
So what you're saying is, if you hadn't have been so bothered about your precious trainers, you could have broke 123.
To be fair, if I actually train for the half, I think I'm putting it out there. I do one day want to go a sub 120. But those 3 minutes are like, it's like it's like a whole different race. To break 120 it's incredible. And there were some of the runners in front of me, like some of the faster club runners, they were like 115, which is bonkers. Like absolutely wild. But then
if I asked you right now to get up and do some weighted squats, how would you feel about it?
I'd be very upset. I mean, it's not after a marathon, or it's definitely not after an ultra level of quad pain. But like yesterday I felt fine, but now it's definitely settled into upsetting. But yeah, and then at the end of the race, I had to pick. As everyone here has been to a race, you got bag collection. Put your pee bag in, and they had this bag thing in the middle of this field, and the field was very wet. And there's me creeping around the outside of the field, like on fence posts, not to get my shoes down. And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" Like my friends were like shouting across to me, like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I can't get my alpha flies down because they're bright white." And
I love how disappointed Kayleigh looks in you.
I'm not getting them down. Bearing in mind, Kayleigh, I have come from trail running, so like I've got like trail running shoes. They are filthy just over there, but the alpha fly road shoes, I don't know. I've turned into one of those people.
That was the one little bit of shred of like dignity you had left. The fact that you were a trail runner. because I was listening to that story thinking I'd have been straight through the middle of that puddle.
I am like
But I let you
in
know,
me is
right,
Rowan.
but
Yeah,
you like an ultra, so it's okay. It's okay.
I love ultras are like where it's ultras are like. I mean, it's a different sport. It's actually a different sport. Like, because like racing hard at halves and marathons and even worse 10Ks and 5Ks, which are a stupid distance, and I'll always say that. Like, it's a literal different sport. You turn up to an ultra, and as you're gonna find out, it's like super laid back. The aid stations, it's not like running through, grabbing a cup, getting a face full of water, and then trying to slap a gel down and try and hand the cup back to the marshal. There's none of that. It's like, oh, what piece of cake shall I have? And like, you know, when I was doing Race to the Stones, they were making these sandwiches, and they're like, "What do you want in your sandwich?" I'm like, "This is great. I get a packed lunch," and I'm just like walking up a hill eating a cheese sarnie. Like, well, it was actually peanut butter and Marmite was my sandwich, which sounds gross, but at the time, I don't know, it was just.
You know what? That actually sounds banging. I'm a
was banging,
Marmite
mate.
fan. I would be up for that.
Oh, it's honestly so good in like an ultra as well, and it was on like, you know, that really cheap kind of crappy white bread you get at, like
Yeah.
Sainsbury's. It's like, you know, 4p a loaf. It was on that, but because it was like so doughy, it was just perfect for racing.
It's like Britain's salted potatoes. I know we bring this up quite a bit, but they were like some of the best things I've ever eaten.
They really were.
Yeah, it's
They really were.
I mean, that's what ultras are just they're just great fun. I mean, that you do suffer like an absolute animal in them, but like you say, like I stop, take photos, you know, and I've got on literal podiums ultras, and I've still taken photos when I'm racing. I think only if you're like super serious and, you know, a bit boring, you're going to be like that. Like in ultras, it's good fun. I do. One thing I will say though is do get used to the navigating, because I raced an ultra last year which was self-navigating,
Uh-huh.
and I got lost like
You need to,
8 times.
Jamie, you need to go back a few videos on Kayleigh's channel and check out Chris's navigational skills. They go down in folklore now.
Just to like give some context for anyone that hasn't seen the video, then our club, we run for Sunderland Strollers, and one of the races that it's an actual race that anyone can enter, but one that they organise is the Urban Ultra. So it's an ultra around Sunderland. So as I was thinking about doing an ultra, we decided to split it because you can do it as a relay team. So you get roughly 16 miles each. But what they do is they put recce runs on leading up to it. So it's majority self-navigated, but there is aid stations and stuff on the way that you're aiming for, where they'll tick you off and things. So that was it. I did the first recce and I fell on my knee, so I was out for like a few weeks. So I missed a lot of like the training, but managed to get back into it, do the recce's, and luckily I'd recce'd most of the first part of my route, and then I just needed to do the second part, so I was fine. Chris was like, "Yeah, I'll take the second half. It'll be fine. I'll follow me watch. You want to have a laugh after this? You go and watch that video. I have never seen a man get lost so many times. Literally 10 miles from where we live. It's the funniest thing. And the best bit about it was, obviously, I'd run the first half, I'd filmed, and then my friend Rachel picked us up, came home, like I got changed, and then we went back for Chris coming in. So I didn't know any of this was going on. And then on the night when we were looking at the footage, he showed us the clips, and I have never laughed so much. There's one bit where he looks like he's basically fallen off a cliff, and he's just like this. And I've never laughed so much at a video. But honestly, his navigation is terrible. But I've got some right stories of when we've gone for. So he's, well, follow me, watch, it'll be fine. We've gone for a 6-mile run, 12-mile later with no fuel, raging, shopping for a drink. Like, I've never.
It's not the same as following, like, you know, people like, because my missus, she was like, "Oh, it's just like following a car sat nav." I was like, "You clearly have never done it then. It's not like following a car sat nav. It's very different." And for anyone listening who hasn't done this, I recommend doing an ultra in general because they're great fun. But then also follow your watch and then see how much it doesn't quite follow the course as well. That's really weird. Like the amount of races I've seen where it's like you're staring at your watch and you're like, it's saying go over there, but the road is 50 meters over there. and you've got to kind of like work it out with your head. And when you're in that racing mindset, it's actually very concerning because I've gone down the wrong way n number of times. I can't like explain.
You're like following a dot, aren't you? You're not even following a map, you're following a dot, which makes it even harder. Unless you've got a fancy like Coros or a high-end Garmin with the map on and everything, which mine isn't. Mine is breadcrumbs, so I'm literally just following the route and the dot.
I mean, I have a fancy one with I have like the fanciest Garmin, and it's got advanced mapping, and it's still hard to follow.
Yeah,
I can assure you.
It's not.
Well, I've got another PB to celebrate. I don't know if you remember. I can't remember if it was the last podcast or the one before. I mentioned Ross, who is the husband of Louise that we met at Endure 24. I said the word, didn't I?
You
Just
did.
said the word.
Second round's on you.
Yeah, that's it. Round 2's on Freddy.
And then I grasped myself up for saying it.
What race can't we talk about, Scott?
Anyway.
June 29th.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, at the time I said that Ross had just started running, and he managed to bag himself a PB at the time. I think it was 54 minutes at Parkrun. He's dropped that now to 46 minutes. So huge PB already from Ross, which is amazing. Well done, Ross. That's really, really good to see.
Is Louise coaching him or not?
I'm not sure. I've not actually asked him. Yeah. He's also just signed up to Instagram. So if anybody is wanting to follow Ross's...
Then I was like, well, steady on. I wouldn't put it past you doing something like that. Oh, you've done Parkrun. Sign up for a 50 miler.
Why not? But no, he's on Instagram
I'm living proof of that.
That's true. He is on Instagram as Orange Running Guy. So jump on and give him a follow and watch the man become a beast, let's hope.
You just reminded me. You can tell how long the week's been last week because I totally forgot. But I actually had a race. I ran the TNT, the Temple Newsom 10, last Sunday. I totally forgot about it.
Yes.
It was really good fun. It was a 10-miler, cross-country, some serious hills. There's one hill, the elevation was 300 foot in the space of about 200 meters, or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was like the back of a golf course. But then there were puddles that were up to my kneecaps. And actually on the race page, there's a picture of me and my kneecaps from the knee down to my ankles are just brown, caked, solid mud. It's ridiculous.
Just remind everybody though, Scott, is your kneecaps is like my waist. How tall are you?
I'm 6'5", 6'6".
There we go.
Well, yeah, you'd have been up to your neck. But I did that in 1:36, which I was happy with, considering those hills were like ridiculous. And it was cross country. It's the closest I'll come to doing cross country since I was a kid in high school running cross country. So it's like an adult version of that. It's just fun. So yeah, I totally forgot I'd done that. But the jersey, those guys, you always say you prefer a jersey to a medal. If you can ever get into the TNT race, do it because the jerseys are brilliant. Still training last year's, it's long sleeve green one. This year's was a zip training top in like a purple with grey sleeves. It's got the TNT on the back. The medals are still nice, but the jerseys are what you do that race for. So I've got 2 in 2 years now, but it sells out same day, so can need a heads up if you're interested. But the tickets go on sale around October, I think, but they literally sell out same day because you only put 1,000 places on. And highly recommend.
I'm definitely up for that. I remember last year you saying it was good, and to get it, you sent me a text to say it's available now. And by the time I went on, which is that evening, they'd all gone.
Sold out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I continue the conversation a little bit? Because I know we chatted a little bit about a few things we might want to talk about today. Motivation was the one we agreed on. So it's getting to that time of year where, like, if people have just joined a gym or they've just started running as their new 2025 goal, they might be, like, starting to drop off now. Or they might not because the sun's started to shine. So that sometimes keeps people at it. So just open for the floor. How do you all stay motivated, I guess, is the question. And is there any tips that you can give for other people based on that?
I do have some, because I'm probably pretty seasoned, I'd say. One thing I would say, this is going to sound really cliche, but motivation is finite. It's kind of like willpower. It's what gets you out the door. I say consistency is what it's making it robotic. Sounds kind of boring, but just saying I will be going for a run today, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you really don't want to do it, say I'm going to go out for a run. I'm going to do 10 minutes, or even 5 minutes, and I can get I would wager my house that you go out for longer. So don't give yourself ridiculous goals when you go out of I must go out and run 2 hours. So I really don't feel like a day. Just go out and do 10 minutes, but just stick to that 10 minutes. If you don't want to do more than 10 minutes, go home and is what it is. But you still ticked off that run for the day. That's what I would say, because consistency really drives me. I love to be consistent in what I do. And even if you get, the horrible I word, which is injured, try and find another way of being consistent. It is really hard mentally, but I find, I've got cycling, for example, and if I can't cycle, I will find something. But I just say consistency. And then also, if you do, there are obviously things like races to sign up for and whatnot to keep you motivated. Not every race has to be a PB race, which people seem to think they have to be. I want to sign up for a race in a couple of weeks, so I may or may not be able to do. I have no interest in PBing. It's actually a trail run, 20 miler. But it would be nice just to go, one, for a bit of a social, but as a sort of advanced training run, and it's something to look forward to. You get a medal at the end, and I think it's a t-shirt one as well. And I like Scott said, I love a t-shirt, any chance of that. And then I'll probably spend a bit of money in the thingy. But then I said, well, I'll sign up for that. And then afterwards, that evening, I'm going to treat myself to a takeaway as well. That's my motivation. I love to always, I like to have something to aim for, but I also like to be consistent as well. And I find that works really, and you'll find, if you want to get faster, you'll get faster. You want to get fitter, you'll get fitter. You want to get leaner, you'll likely get leaner. As proven from Lord Freddy over there, Scott as well. I think you dropped a fair chunk of weight as well, didn't you, Scott?
5 stone. 5 stone. Yeah. Very, very similar to what you just said, Jamie. I read a book a couple of years ago. It's a famous book. Loads of people have read it.
It's not Atomic Habits. Yeah, it's actually, I got that quote pretty much from Atomic Habits.
Yeah. That first 4 or 5 chapters is exactly what you said there. It's about making it a habit rather than, and it's one of those things you don't think about. And I've managed to do that for my running. It's just a run now. It's just one of those things I have to do that day. That's part of. It's like brushing my teeth. I have to do it because otherwise it's gross. You wouldn't not do it. So it's now, I don't think about it anymore. It's just today's a run day, so it's a run. I don't question it in my brain. I think I'm quite lucky that I don't have those internal arguments and force myself over the door. No, I did when I first started, and it was horrible. But now if it's a run day, it's a run day. I don't question it. It's a habit I've built because I followed building. Even the ones when I didn't want to go, like you said, minimum of 10 minutes. Just do 10 minutes. But it's never 10 minutes because you get out there and it's like you yesterday with the 16 miles, Kayleigh. You didn't want to do it, but I bet once you got out there, you're like, well, thank God. And that high you get when you get back thinking, tick, done another.
I'm a bit sadistic with it though. I let Freddy. I can always get myself out the door. It's really, but sometimes that can be detrimental as well because I run probably when I shouldn't run. So,
do you think you're addicted?
100%. I don't think I know.
If you're lucky that you've got a partner that understands, but let's assume they didn't, because not all our partners are understanding as well. My wife is very understanding. Right. I've always done stupid stuff since I've been with her. How would you feel if your partner's like, I don't think you should go running today? I'm not saying you'd be with someone like that, but I find it would affect me mentally quite badly. I personally genuinely think I have an addiction to it. And I really struggle if I can't do it. I assume you feel the same way?
I am. Addiction's a funny word because I would say, I've only been probably running for 10 years. before that.
Only 10 years.
Well, I know. But like in the grand scheme of things, some people like Chris has been running since he was at school. I had no interest in sport at school. I wasn't a sporty child. I was quite overweight. I came into running coming into my 30s, and it was purely for mental health. So I think, and that was where the addiction side of it started, you know. And I'm not a therapist, I'm not a trained coach or anything like that. This is just, I'm just speaking from experience. Like, that was what got me into it. And then I always call it the metaphorical hump. Once I got over the running hump, that was it. I was in it for the long run, pardon the pun, but yeah. But then I think when I joined a club, so I joined my running club in 2019, and I think you progressed quite quickly because all of a sudden you're getting like tailored training, and you're around like-minded people who all want to be running, and you've always got someone to run with. So I quite like running on my own, so there's that as well. I'm quite good running with people, and by myself I'm quite happy. And I think for a long time I was addicted to the point where I'd be like, yeah, rest day, like I still feel like I need to run. But I think over the last couple of years, I've really become mindful of that. And now I understand how important it is to rest as well. And if I am injured, before I would just run on a niggle, whereas now I'm like, how bad is that niggle? I feel like I know my body a lot more. So I'd be like, right, okay, it doesn't feel right. I'll go to the gym and I'll cross train for a couple of days. I'll have the odd day off. But I think I'm quite lucky in that consistency for running, I don't find, and motivation, I don't find difficult to get hold of. Like, even on days where I'm like, I do feel like yesterday was a great example. I was stood with Chris on the morning going, I just don't want to go, but I knew I would get out the door because I knew I would do it, because I have guilt if I don't go, and the guilt's far worse than the lack of motivation.
Yeah.
If I do the door, I know I'll get out. I know I'll run all of the 16 miles. I'd have to be ill to give up. Whereas in the past, I've run through like illness, like coughs on my chest and things like that, which I've learned from now. So I think I've managed to like get a bit of a happy medium. But I think for people who aren't motivated, I totally agree with you, Jamie. I think literally put your shoes on and get out the door, and then tell yourself you're going to go for a walk first. And then if you feel like running, pick it up. But you guarantee if you can just get yourself over the threshold, you're going to do something. And I'm such a like mindset believer. I'm very into the like done is better than none, and like consistently good rather than occasionally great. And like I'm all into these sort of like mindfulness quotes of like basically keeping yourself accountable for yourself. And I think that's what keeps me motivated. It's that thing of like, yeah, I've got a goal, I've got a training plan. If I'm disappointed, if I don't hit my goal, but I've given everything I can to my training plan, that's not my fault. The laws were just against us that day. Whereas if you've got a training plan, but you're like a bit half-assed with it, and then it doesn't quite go that well on the day, you've only got yourself to blame, and I don't like that. So the like little goody two-shoes in me is like, yeah, we're going to get this nailed, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I know everyone's different, and it's harder if you're a new runner, I guess, as well. We're all sort of quite established with our running, so it's different. Yeah. It's a different thing, isn't it? How about you, Freddy?
Yeah, I'd say, first of all, a good little tip that I found is preparation. So if you know you're going to go out for a run, say after work, then get your kit out before work and have that ready to go when you get back home or when you.
I do exactly this every day. Yeah. Like, it's laid out upstairs now for the morning.
Right, there you go. So it's one less job you have to do when it's time for a run. It's all there ready to go. And it's that putting the shoes on that is actually the hardest part of the lot. Because once you've got them shoes on, you've at that point, you've now run out of reasons to not go. You know, well, I've got my shoes on, I might as well go. So I think that's for me, that's kind of my number one tip, is get your kit ready and just put your shoes on and see what happens after that. For me, my motivation has changed certainly over the last few months since I've been using Manjaro. But I would say, and also, which coincidentally goes in line with when I started using the Runner app, which has given me sort of proper structure to my training. I think before that, I find it easy to go out for a run. I perhaps find it hard to decide what sort of run I should be doing that day. So before I was using the Runner app, I would just, right, what do I feel like? And 9 times out of 10, well, what I would feel like was just doing a nice slow run. And that's what I would do, you know, and then wonder why I weren't getting quicker, I guess, because I wasn't doing any sessions. Now I've got that structure I find actually that motivates me alone, because I get it sounds a bit like what you were saying, Kayleigh, about getting a bit sadistic about it. Maybe is I look at it and think, oh, that sounds really hard. I can't wait to try that and see if I can do it. It's that type 2 fun, right? Where you know it's going to hurt, but you know you're going to get a lot of enjoyment from it at the same time. And I'm definitely finding that. But also in line with the Manjaro, where I'm now losing weight, it's exciting me, because a year ago I would be excited if I could get, let's say I was doing a 5K, and if I could get within half a minute of my PB, that's a really good run for me, and I'd be really happy about it, and quite rightly. Now I'm like, oh, I can beat that time now, and that's exciting me. So that's motivating me to get out as well. And like I know you said before, not every race can be a PB attempt, and it definitely shouldn't be. But I like the idea also of giving myself goals that I can aim for, because then that also motivates me to get out. Now that could be a time goal, but it could also be a distance goal, for the race that we spoke about. All of those goals mean to achieve them, you've got to get out there and put in the hard work. So I like to do that now. Perhaps I didn't do a lot of that at the beginning, but I'm certainly doing it now, where I'm saying to myself, look, if you want to achieve that goal, mate, there's only one way you're going to do it. Because actually it's the hard work where that goal's made. It's not on the race, or anything like that. It's the build up to the race where you actually win that, and that's motivates me. Yeah, getting quicker, achieving my goals, and without sounding cheesy and corny, hopefully motivating other people to do the same. That motivates me as well.
I think what you were saying as well, Jamie, about like if I had a partner that wasn't supportive, that must be awful. And if people have, like, I really feel for you, because I am quite lucky that obviously Chris runs as well. So, and that's one thing that, like, I sometimes think when you're in circles with people who some run, they're in couples, some run, some don't, we're really lucky in that respect, because we're very mindful of each other's goals as well. Like, we're at complete ends of the spectrum at the minute in terms of running. Like, Chris is doing short, fast, 5K, as fast as he can possibly get is his goal, whereas my runs have got longer and longer and longer. And like, I'm already planning for, like, right, when my ultra's done, Chris has got a 5K race. I can't wait to go and watch him and support him. I've got no desire to run it. I'm going to still be, like, broken from running my race. But I'm really excited to, like, I really enjoy watching him run as well, because I know how much, like, how hard he's worked to get where he is. And that's really rewarding for me as a wife as well, like, because we've gone through that together. But if you're the other way, I think, and you are in a relationship where the other person doesn't understand, I think the only advice I would give is, like, try and maybe bring it on their level to something that they're passionate about and compare it that way, to try and meet them in the middle. Because I do think as runners, like, we are a different breed of people in a lot of ways. We are very hyper-focused, very addicted to it. And I think, like, my mum is a perfect example. She does not understand, like, the ultra talk's been hilarious to my mum and dad's house. You run how far on Sunday? Why would you want to do that? Haven't you ever run a half marathon? What if you die? I'm like, Mum, right, the reason I'm putting the training in is so that doesn't happen. But you want to give your Sunday up to go and running the race, and you're going to run 28 miles. She's just like, it's so alien.
Is everyone's parents the same though? Because like my I spoke to mine, and I said, oh yeah, I've like 1:23.5, and my mum's like, is that fast? And I'm like, oh, like, thanks, love you too. She's like, but you did 100-miler. I'm like, yes, they're two very different races. They're basically like completely different sports. Oh, but it's not as far as, it must be so much easier. I'm like, what is this conversation?
Yeah.
There's Jerry's mum in the kitchen flipping pancakes in a pair of Alpha Flies, by the way.
Yeah,
Do you know,
I can assure you,
my
my mum does not run, and and that is a swear word to my dad. Any kind of exercise.
Well, my dad made a comment to me, and my dad does watch some of these, so I'll be careful what I say, Pops, don't worry. My dad said something to me last year, and it's when Scott, I came down to you and we ran a half marathon in the morning. Then later that evening, I ran the Blade race. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was all just training in build up to an ultra, right? So double run days, not unusual. Lots of people do that lots of times. But my dad gave me a bit of a hard time for that. You're doing too much, son. You should never be doing 2 runs in one day. That's too much. But it's just, they don't know, do they?
It's gonna hurt your knees, mate.
It's like,
gonna knack your
it's
knees.
like an epiphany moment, this, because I'm the same. My dad collared me after the ultra and said, like, "Son, at your age now, you need to, like, bring that distance in. You don't need to be doing them anymore. Stick to 10Ks.
Yeah.
You do 10Ks, son." All right, Dad, yeah. He does know his stuff running wise, but the ultra wasn't a thing when he was young and able, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think he thinks we've just gone in without any training or background building up to it. It would be dangerous. I wouldn't advise doing it with any kind of novice attitude to an ultra. It is.
But it goes the other way as well. Like when I speak to Pippa, who's obviously like ever since I've been together with my wife. This is the kind of relationship we have, right? So we got together. We've been together like 12 years, 13 years, and I couldn't go on the second date. And the reason I gave her is because I got a 6-hour Ironman bike leg with a 1-hour brick run afterwards. So I
wouldn't even know what that means, I'll be honest.
So that means you're riding the bike for 6 hours and then you immediately run for an hour afterwards.
Right.
Bike run it.
Yeah, brick. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
bike
the
run
reason
it.
Yeah, it's not bike running. The reason it's called a brick is because your legs feel like bricks when you get off the bike. So it's just called a brick run. Any triathletes watching this, you know about this. I've been a triathlete for years, by the way. So, and if I'm spelling anything wrong, so be it. But,
I always refer to that as bike run ick.
Yeah, it's awful. It's a terrible way to spend it, and there's swimming involved at some point as well, usually. But yeah, I was doing Ironman training when I first met my wife, and then I got into like mountain biking and long distance mountain biking, and then running, and then ultra running, and it doesn't phase her no matter what I tell her I'm doing at this point. It's like, well, I'm gonna do a 100-mile ultra. She's like, yeah, cool. Just tell me the weekend. It's just like, and then it's like, I'm doing back-to-back ultras this year. And she's like, well, you are an idiot, but you'll probably be all right. And I'm just seeing how far I can push it before, like, you know, I borderline get divorced. There's some absolutely ridiculous races out there.
Yeah.
I think I don't know where, I'm sure, Kayleigh, you're going to find how far you're going to push it, like, because this is your first ultra and it's a dangerous addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I think I genuinely draw the line at 100-mile distance. I don't think I would find anything further than 100 miles fun at that point.
Right, I'm going to stop you right now because we've already spoke about going down south to the Hope 2024, is it? Hope 24?
Hope 12, 24, 36.
So we talked about the 36. Right, so be careful what you say, mate, because that's going to be for you. If you do that, that's going to be more than 100 miles.
I tell you what, if you go down to 36, I'm not saying it's going to be fun, right? But I'll put my name down to 150 miles.
See how quickly that turned.
I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be fun, but if we're going to be stupid about the situation, let's be stupid properly.
Do I run more than 100 miles? Oh, hold on a minute, action.
But if I have to do 150 miles, he's got to also do 36 with a minimum distance of 100 miles.
I'm in to see you do 150. I'm in.
Sign me up. 150.
I'm watching how that day.
Yeah, you're breaking up. I'm washing my hair as well.
The thing is, I've raced that course. I've raced that course on mountain bikes, so I know the course. And it goes up the side of a cliff, essentially, on one part of it. And if it's the same course, I'm pretty sure it is. And that climb is horrific.
Oh, no one said anything about climbing.
Pretty sure it's got. If it's the same mountain bike, because I did the 24-hour mountain bike champs there, and that involved a huge climb at the start. It's got a nice descent through the woods.
Lovely.
No, but
you'll be right. Man, your caliber, you'll be fine.
No, not
just to draw it back to the point.
Yeah.
What we start talking about, we all signed up to do 1,000 mile or something, a team effort. What I was going to say was, I think going back to the couples thing, I do think the world is becoming more fitness orientated though. So I hope that there's more understanding around it, and there's less like skepticism of like, you want to run, like I think a lot of couples are starting to run together, or like people have found. I mean, social running groups are popping up everywhere, which is lovely to see. I do have a slight bit of resentment though, because I was the crazy woman that ran for 10 years, and now it's like really trendy to run. Like it's like, oh yeah, I run all the time, and I'm like, you've been telling me I was crazy for 10 years, and now I'm like,
Right.
now
It's not weird to, like, I drop my, okay, a good example of this actually is tomorrow morning I've got to take my kids to school, you know, because I'm a father and stuff you have to do with your life. And I walk them to school and I go running immediately afterwards, but I turn up in Lycra. Like, and I love a bit of Lycra. It's coming from cycling world. But I always have like Lycra shorts on. And
You're
I'll
allowed
just
in the
stand there.
playground.
But in all seriousness, this is what I mean. You stand there and no one bats an eyelid.
yeah.
Whereas if you'd have done that like 10, 15, 20 years, because I used to like ride to work 10, 15 years ago, and I used to work a very blue collar line of work. And you would just be like taking the mick out for turning up in Lycra. Whereas now it's just like some dude going running afterwards.
Yeah.
Like it's so.
Right. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant that everyone's getting into fitness and everyone's running. It's really lovely to see, because I think the impact it makes on people's lives, their mental health more than anything. Like I know from experience how transformative it can be. So
And running's so accessible as well.
yeah.
Like, because one of the reasons I do love running, now we all take the mick, because like me and Freddy have, and Scott as well, to a probably slightly lesser degree, has a slight obsession with buying shoes. And Freddy in particular, he's the key person that don't give me that.
Guys, my wife is just next door.
That's all right. We'll keep it down. But you know, you don't need to spend hardly anything to get into running. Like a pair of just normal, you know, running shoes are like, you can pay up a decent pair for like 50, 60 quid, and just shorts and a t-shirt. I mean, and then you can like buy some basic running technical t-shirts for like literally £5. I bought a few £5 pairs and a pair of like shorts, and you don't need a fancy watch or anything like that. You can get all that stuff if you get into it. And you can, you know, you can spend a lot of money, but even then, if you're spending stupid money, the races are the expensive bit to me. Like, actual running itself, it costs barely anything. It's great. And like, you know, whereas other sports are way harder to get into, like cycling, it's so expensive. And, you know, even swimming is a pain. Running is just like, it's so accessible. You can just do it from your front door. As long as you
No, I mean, it's great. I would like to say I was in Whitley Bay Park Run on Saturday, and there was just shy of 600 people.
That's a big park
Yeah.
run.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Big park
Sure
run.
it
Yeah,
was
we get
600.
about...
I'm going to have to check
We get
that.
about 600 in Newbury, I think. 600 is what we get down here.
It was one of them. I went down there not to run fast anyway. I actually said I did a video, and I said in that video I was going to try and get around in about 27 minutes, which is what I did. But if I wanted to run fast that day, you couldn't. There was just too many people.
You got a seat at the front if you want to run fast.
Yeah, and that's not a complaint. It was great to see. It was actually a really, really good fun half an hour out. You know, yeah, it was great.
Slightly off topic, kind of on topic. Actually, I just wanted to, while I remember, this is something crazy that I saw at this race yesterday. I just wanted to bring up. But you get this at park runs, and you get this at races. For anyone who hasn't really raced, you get pacers turn up for races. So you'll get like 1:30 pacer, 1:45, 2 hour. At this race yesterday, they had a 1:20 pacer. Like a 1:20 pacer.
Did you have a Kenyan national shirt on?
Like, I was like, to be a pacer, you generally have to be considerably faster than your pace time. So if you're running a 1:30 half, you're probably going to be at least a 1:25, probably closer to 1:20.
You've got to be
half-marathon
confident
runner.
in what you're doing, haven't you?
Yes.
And in control of it.
To run a 1:20, you've got to be like a 1:10 half-marathon runner. Well, that is mental. I couldn't believe that. I've never seen anything like. I know I was talking to all the guys there, and no one's ever seen a 1:20 pace. I've seen those 1:30s.
Did they smash the 1:20? Did they get it?
Yeah, they came in at 1:20. Yeah. Because one of the friends I was running with, he ran a 1:20 like 50 or something, and he got overtaken by the 1:20 pacer right at the end.
I did wonder what Mo Farah was doing in his retirement life, but I think
Oh yeah,
But it's wild. That's essentially like having a 2:45 marathon. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure they do, but I couldn't believe it. That's insane to have a pacer at that speed. like, because paces are usually at like, regular human paces, fast to, people that can achieve. But 120 is, you're a very dedicated runner to get to that sort of pace. Like, but yeah, it's just something really, I just thought I'd bring it up. It was just really surprising.
Well, that's
I've never
actually, I
seen
mean,
like-
you think about that as well as somebody that is that fast to even maintain that fitness.
Yeah.
You've got to really work on that. So
Really
actually, they're giving up quite a bit to run at that pace, because to run at that pace, if they're a 110 runner, then to run at 120 comfortably, they've got to be in pretty good shape. They're probably in 110 shape to be able to do that comfortably.
yeah, totally.
So actually, they're actually giving up quite a lot, because that could have been a really good race for them, isn't it? It's good that they do that.
I can't imagine ever running a 120 and not feeling a bit trashed the next day. Like, I don't think anyone runs that fast, because you get, for people who don't race that often, like with you'll notice people's race times will come down quite a lot when they start racing, just due to how it works. But you get to diminishing returns after a while, and you'll find often with, like, say, a half marathon, it gets to like 2 hours, for example, for a male, and you start to get that sort of diminishing returns where it's really hard to get that extra couple of minutes, and then it's a real grind. When you get to 120, the diminishing returns, it's like to drop 1 minute off to go 118 or something is
How does that
insane.
work? It's on race day. Is that like track, or does that pacer finish the race, or is it like track where they just do so much of it at that pace then drop out?
No, they finished the race, came across the line.
They do.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure at that end of the race. I didn't know if they would finish it.
No, you finished it. So the only difference between that pace, because I remember them advertising a 120 pacer, and I was like, no, surely not. I was like, there's apparently 125 pacer as well. I did actually see him saying that. I was just obviously about a minute or so in front of him. But they have like the big flags on their back, they carry. 120 pacer didn't. He was just in a t-shirt. They said 120 pacer. I think because they probably needed like
parachute to slow him down.
That's wild though. Like, I couldn't get over it. Like, I know I talk about like fast times and everything, but that is bonkers to me to have that fast pacer. Like, that's having it's like turning up to a 5K at a park run and having a 16-minute pacer. Like, is that possibly faster?
Was he
It's like,
start line eating bicarb before he
it's like, is he on a bike? Like it's
Jamie,
not...
a question for you, mate, is what's more important to you? A sub-3 marathon or beating your 100 mile of time?
Oh, it's not for the marathon. Like, like the 100 mile, I don't care really about the time so much. I just want to do that. I don't care. The sub-3 is a whole different level of important. Running the 100 mile last year was very important to me. But now that I've cracked it, I don't, if I didn't go under that 1951 is my 100 mile PB. If I don't go under it, I'm not going to lose any sleep.
Right.
Like, it's just is what it is. I really don't. I want to, but it's not something I'm going to. I'd rather go slightly slower and have a better time at Endure, to be honest, than break myself and do it. Oh, damn it.
Break 2.
It's probably very expensive to me, this. Kayleigh, we're going to have a falling out. Can you not? I thought I said, I thought I'd go over
I'm
that.
getting away with it because I'm not doing it. So let's fall out of my mouth.
But yeah, God, there's two in a row.
Yeah.
There's 3 strikes and I'm out.
On that, the fact that you've got a 100 mile PB is impressive as it is, regardless of what time. Like, the fact that you're like, oh, me 100 mile PB is like 90 hours to me. Like,
You say this, but you've got that look of a freak about you, and I love it. And you do. If you, I tell you, actually, no, I was going to say this earlier, and you were talking with Scott or Freddy, but you ran a training run the other day where Freddy joined you, and it was 27 miles or so. You say something like that?
short 28, yeah.
Yeah, that's longer than any of the training runs I did for the 100 mile.
Whoa.
With the exception of 55k race, but you can't really count that as a training run because it was technically a race. But normal, I did 1 marathon in training, and that I think was too far. Most 100 mile people I know do not go further than 22 miles.
Well, it's funny that you should raise that, because obviously I know the whole rule. I've never done a marathon, but I know you don't run a marathon.
You don't run a marathon.
You run
straight
20,
marathon.
22. So when I did get my plan and I saw 26 mile, I thought, that seems a lot for a 50k race. But I was like, let's just see what we can do. Like, and for me, because I've never run anywhere near the distance before, I know there's that worry about accumulative fatigue, but because you're running at such a slower pace, I was like, we'll just see if we can get the 24, aim for the 26, ended up being nearly 28. But I did think when I first got my plan, should that really be 26 mile? That didn't, for someone who's never run a marathon. So I also thought it was going to be a lot. But actually, now that I'm over the tiredness of it, because the next day, weirdly, my legs were absolutely fine.
I messaged you, didn't I? And I couldn't believe it when you replied and said they feel fine. I'm like,
I was
what?
making jokes about how am I going to get up and down the stairs in the office tomorrow? And honestly, I went in the office on the Monday after, and I yawned my head off all day, and I wanted to eat everything in sight, but my body felt absolutely fine. It was the back end of the week where I started to feel it a little bit more. But now again, because I ran yesterday, had a good sleep last night, now I'm starting to feel back in there. Okay, we're over the long stuff now. Just need to make sure we're recovering well. But I am concerned as to where this could go, of how much I've enjoyed training for this ultra in really bad weather. Like I am a bit like, oh, but the caveat I will make is the reason at the moment I don't think I want to train for anything more than that 50k is the time, just the time constraints it puts on your life, having to go and do those training runs. Like I think I am a very busy person anyway, and I just think if I was at a different point in life, then I think, and I could give everything to it. Like if I didn't work Monday to Friday 9 to 5, like do all the other things, like I'm involved in my running club and different things, and we're trying to move house. There's so much going on. Like I think I would probably think, yeah, okay. But I just think after training for this 50k, training properly for a 100 miler must be such a commitment. Like
It's not. I don't think it's that bad. I'm doing pretty much the same mileage I am marathon training as I am 100-mile training.
Yeah.
But and it's only because I'm training for the sub 3 that you do actually have like huge distances in the marathon training plans. Like they're all 100k plus weeks. But with the 100-miler, and I said this to Freddy as well, is the key difference for me is the back-to-back long runs.
Yeah.
So you have a long run on Saturday that is like 22 miles, and then on the Sunday you have a long run again that's like 22 miles.
Yeah.
So, and that does take time. I mean, luckily my wife is very understanding, but also I do realise I am built different to a lot of people, and I done a couple of the runs on my training plan where I got up at 3 a.m. and ran at 3 a.m.
Wow.
just to get it in, because I will do it to get it in. And I do appreciate most people would not want to do that, but I wanted that 100-mile so badly that I didn't care what I had to do to get it.
Yeah.
It does require a fair amount of dedication, but I when I used to train for Ironmans and stuff, that was way more time. That was a ridiculous amount of time, absolutely ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah.
So ultras almost feel like, and during the week it's not really that much different. You have like, Monday rest day, Tuesday I have is like intervals. Wednesday I have midweek long run, which is about half marathon. Thursday some kind of tempo run. Friday like 10k easy. Then back-to-back long runs, and then just rinse and repeat until you get stable.
Yeah, I think, well, after spending this first short amount in Jamie, I think I'm wired up quite similarly, so that worries us slightly.
You really do. I genuinely, I do genuinely say this. You look like the kind of person that would turn up on 100-mile start line.
Yeah.
I would eat my hat if you don't do this. And then you're like, that was actually really fun. And then you're like, well, I don't know if I've got time. Well, I'm sure I can find the time.
I want to ask you, Kayleigh. I mean, first of all, I'm going to say you've already done an ultra.
Yeah.
Your training run was 28 miles.
That's true. True story.
That's an ultra. So I'd like to ask you, actually, is in the back of your mind, do you already have a target? Not for now, but do you sort of say to yourself, one day I'd like to run 50 miles, 100 miles, whatever that looks like. Do you have that target in the back of your mind? Not one that you're thinking about actively, but you've got it there. And secondly, do you want us to let you know in the end of June or early July when the tickets are open for Leeds next year?
Leeds. Well done.
Funny way of saying Reading.
Yeah.
I don't have a goal purely because, so I know we talked a little bit before the podcast started about age, but I turned 40 in December. So my goals for this year were I wanted to run an ultra, and then I also got talked into signing up for Amsterdam Marathon, and I've never done a marathon before. So I already started this year with like, they're the two goals I have to tick off, and I have to put everything else aside, which I don't normally do. I am a racer. I love to race, so I'll race. I'll do every club race, you know, like I'm like you, Jamie, I like the race, so
That's dangerous though with the club races, there, isn't it?
Yeah.
'Cause there's always some kind of club race going
and it's
on.
hard. And it's hard because you get fatigue and you don't realise
yeah.
it's just the races that you're doing. So at the moment, no, I don't. But I have said to Chris on several occasions, I am concerned as to where this ultra journey will lead. But we've also been having conversations about, he said, I've mentioned on numerous occasions about me 5k PB. So as mad as it sounds, because it's the other extreme, he's like cajoling us into, I think you should do a time trial after this ultra because your fitness has really gone up. He thinks I'm like probably in the best shape I've ever been, but I'm in my head, I'm not, because I'm ultra training. So I'm like, oh, like I'm not running fast, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, I've managed to, I mean, I did a track session the other day where I was holding 7-minute miles quite well. And this is 14 weeks into an ultra block. So I'm kind of a bit like, do I come out of the ultra and then do a 5k block, and then that'll tune my speed up a little bit before I start preparing for Amsterdam. But I almost wish I hadn't signed up for Amsterdam and I'd sort of went, what ultra could I look at next? So I'm already leaning more towards that, but then I'm not sure I've let like my road goals go yet, because I do really love a half marathon. That's like probably my favourite distance to race.
Why not both? Like, and I don't mean do both at the same time, but I have similar issues. That I have ultra goals and I have road goals that I want to hit. But I've now decided to split my year up, and I've segmented it because I have zero interest, and I do mean this genuinely. And you can all like bugger off if you think I'm doing it, but I don't do ultras in the winter. I don't like the cold like that. Like I just can't. That doesn't sound fun to me at all. Like, and I don't mean like that with going further than 100 mile. I mean like that genuinely doesn't sound any fun to me.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people in our running group we have that they like cold weather ultras, but I couldn't think of anything worse. So I'm not interested. So I'm using I'm going to have a marathon season, because I have no interest in the 5k and 10k distance. It's just not for me. I just have zero interest. But I do have lots of interest in the half marathon distance. Mm-hmm. So in spring, I've decided it's going to be marathon time. And then I'm going to go from marathon to have summer of ultras. And like only probably 2, maybe 1 shorter ultra, maybe. But like probably 2 a year. And then as soon as like summer's ended, so like August time, back to marathon training for a full marathon / autumn. And then a little small break over Christmas where you're just, not over Christmas, but like, you know, you have a marathon like say October, and then you have a sort of a dead time where you're just running for just running reasons, and that's how I'm going to do it, because I want to do both, because I love ultras as well. I think they're great, like they're genuinely super fun, and you'll meet the best people in them as well. Honestly, best people, and I want to do both. So there's no reason why you can't do both. Do your ultra and then either go double back onto another ultra and then focus on doing that fast 5k in like September or October, and you'll carry the speed through, but you've got to remember you're going to get fatigued from the ultra, and the further that ultra is, the further that does suck. So when you start getting to like 100k plus distance, like it takes a long time to, like the 100 mile took me like 2-3 months before I felt normal again.
Heard that. I am a bit of an ultra geek, to be honest. Like I've watched pretty much every ultra film on YouTube, and I always said I would never do one, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, maybe I really want it. It's really piqued my curiosity, because I think it's like, it's mind over matter, right? Like And I think that's the draw for me. It's like
Pretty much all in your head.
and I think the other thing is as well is like, and I don't want to make this about me because this podcast is not about us. It's about, like running and that sort of thing. But I think I've never ever really seen myself as a fast runner. Like, I think I'm all right, but I don't think I'm particularly speedy. Like, and I don't think everybody else seems to have a distance, whereas I've never known what mine was. And I think this is the first time I've thought, like you were saying with the training, Freddie, like, I actually did feel good the day I saw you. Like, now I know that could have been a fluke. It might have just been a day where I was feeling really good doing that run, but I'm starting to wonder now whether falling in the area that suits me as a runner, because prior to training for the ultra, I could never run in zone 2. This is a joke me and Chris had for years. Your easy run's not easy enough, and I know there's all this debate about easy runs and blah blah blah, but like, I think I was always good at half marathon because I'm quite comfortable running in zone 4, and I always have been. I hate running in zone 5, could never run in zone 2. And now I've nailed down zone 2 running, and I think that's transformative. And then it was like, right, okay, now I understand why this is so important, and now I understand why I'm starting to get pulled into this, because actually you can just go for miles, and that honestly blows my mind. Like, I know you've all gone way further than me, but like, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out after I've done this one. If I survive,
Comparison is the thief of joy, by the way.
no, I know what it is, and it totally.
Because I talk about like my times and stuff, and people are like 1:23 is so fast, and then I'm really bad for it. All I'm doing is looking at the person in front of me who's doing 1:15.
And I think that the problem with that is you're never
happy.
I'm really trying to be proud in the moment. That's like the goal for this year, because I think as runners, and even people who are just starting on that journey, like, I'm sorry, was he called Ross, the guy that you were talking about before? He's just tripping off his times. Like, it's amazing when you first start, because you do chip off your times, but there will be a point where he'll probably go, oh, like, I'm not chipping off as much and that sort of thing. But I think that just needs to not even enter your head. You need to just totally embrace that I've just done a really good thing. So with this ultra block, for me, because it was so unknown, like, I've been so proud of lots of things that I've done, whereas I've not had that in running for such a long time. So it was like, I'm really proud that I've run this distance. And yesterday it was like, I'm really proud I got out the door when I just really didn't want to, and I nailed the run. And I think what we all need to do is appreciate, like, Freddie, you got your PB, which was way under what you wanted. Like, you just said, Jamie, like, you got that half PB and you were like, it was quicker than you wanted. And like, Scott, you run the TNT at Leeds, and, I did really well in the time, and like, forgot about it, but actually did a really good race. I think we all need to spend more time really appreciating what we've achieved, because I think runners, and it's the worst thing, it's definitely worse if you're in a club as well, because you're always talking about the next goal, and people are like, what are you training for? What are you training for? What are you training for? But actually,
enjoy the moment.
It's nice to go, well, I've achieved this and I'm really happy.
Do you know, I want to add to that, the PB thing. I mean, we all like getting PBs, of course we do. But it's also knowing when to let go of that PB and when you almost want to reset it. So when I was much younger, in my sort of early 20s, I was a much, much faster runner than I am now. It was part of my job, really. We were being in the forces at the time. So I used to do a 1.5 miles in 6 minutes 52 as part of my fitness test, which is pretty rapid.
Wow.
By any stretch. But no point me comparing that to me now, And I'm going to use an example of somebody that you will be aware of, and that's on the running channel. And, Andy Badley, amazing runner. There's no two ways about it. Absolutely amazing runner. But you do see, and watch out for this when you hear him talking. He talks about how he struggled since retiring to enjoy his running as much as he wants to. And I believe a lot of that is because he compares himself to himself. And he's stuck at, well, I was an Olympian that was the best in the world, or one of the best in the world at one point in time. How do you compare yourself to that 10, 15, 20 years later? And I think it's learning to let go of that and almost say to yourself, do you know what? I don't have a PB anymore. And actually, the good time to do that is every 5 years on your 40th birthday, your 45th birthday.
Age group yourself, because when you're running a race now, you're being veteran 50 or veteran 40. Why not have a PB for veteran 40?
Exactly. Just reset it for yourself and say, I don't have a PB. Go for a run. Right, that's what it is. So if that's where you get your joy from having those fast times, then just reset it every few years.
I think
And
just
let yourself breathe.
taking the pressure off as well sometimes allows you to achieve things PB wise that you probably wouldn't if you were piling the pressure on. Like
You're bang on.
you can PB sometimes without even thinking about it.
Yeah, that's how I've got my PBs in the past. That 5K one at Hartlepool, Freddy, I ran you the next seconds after I finished. Job comes back.
Yeah.
I was about to do that day, just happened, no pressure on. I think it was Jamie mentioned it right back in the start of this evening. Some races, I'm going into Middlesbrough on Sunday to do the half marathon. I have got zero intention of running PB. I understand it's in my local area and I could run it for free. 9 times out of 10 during the week, if I wanted, I could run that course for free. I'm paying to run it with you guys, and I have absolutely no time in my head. I've got Berlin in a month's time, so this is just a training run. It's a long run on a Sunday. That's how I'm approaching it. It's nice to go into a race with no pressure on my shoulders whatsoever. Like, I don't care what time I do at all. It's so the opposite of what I'm usually like, and the nerves start around Friday tea time, thinking about the race Sunday. It's such a weird feeling, but I guarantee you, I'll get round it and I'll probably surprise myself because there's no pressure on me. I'll just stick my headphones on and have a jaunt around, and it's such a nice feeling not to have to worry.
It's the best way. I did that I entered Brampton to Carlisle 10-mile race, and I entered it because it was a club championship race, and I notoriously don't like races where they're in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing to look at, and I thought, why on earth have I entered this race? And then on the day I was like, do you know what? The weather's nice, just go out, stick your music on, enjoy it. And I got a 10-mile PB and I loved it, and I wrote myself off before I'd even got there. Then on the day I was like, do you know what? It's a bit of fun. Don't care what result you're going to get. It's only for club championship points, which, let's be honest, it's not. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, and I honestly had the best race, and Chris was at the end with the camera and he was like expecting it. I walked over the car park with a biscuit. You got biscuits at the end, which made it even better, and I'm stuffing my face with a biscuit. And he says to us, "You hated that, didn't you?" And I was like, "No, I absolutely loved it." And he was smacked. He was like, "It's the race that I expected you to hate because there's nothing to look at. But like you just said, Scott, like there's no pressure, so it was great."
Mm-hmm. It's a weird feeling, I'll be honest. I'm not used to it yet, but in my head, all along since I've had this race booked, again, it was going back to what you mentioned at the beginning, Freddie. I'm doing it to help James originally. I booked it to run with James, so I'm always running somebody else's race at the minute. I just seem to be helping everybody, but got no qualms doing that either. I'm happy to help,
If that's where you get your enjoyment from, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Exactly.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one was just a tick in the box to run on a Sunday. My big race, the one where I will be pressuring myself, is a month later. So this is kind of like meet you guys for a social event and enjoy a half marathon if you can enjoy a half marathon.
No, mate, don't call it a social event, because if you do run any of it with me, we will not be talking. All right, we will not be talking.
Yeah, because you're not treating this as a social event, are you, Freddy?
No, I am not. So we will not be talking. No.
Are you allowed to ask what your goal is, or are you just?
Yeah, I've been quite open.
I don't know if we're allowed to ask, but I think we should just ask anyway.
I've been quite open with it. It's been quite exciting. I'm going to do a video about this, actually.
Just a quick question before you start. What colour are the shoes you're going to wear?
Watch what, sorry?
What colour are the shoes that you're going to wear?
They're IKEA banana yellow.
Oh, perfect. Just wondered.
Yeah.
Okay, continue, sorry.
No, so my Garmin predictor over the last 2 months has really been getting quite optimistic for what it thinks I'm capable of. My marathon prediction, for example, has gone from, I think, 4:47 down to 4:21 now. So it's a big chunks come off it, but it's done the same with my half. I'm not going to try and get what it's predicting for me. It's predicting at the moment, it's saying 1:54. My PB is 2:09. So I am going to try and get 1:59 is what I just want to go under 2 hours. So I'm going to run the first half. Well, I say I'm going to try and run the first half with the pacer, or behind the pacer if there's a bit of a group. Because there normally
That's
is
not,
with that 2
just for
hours.
the record, that's not me this time.
No,
You're not wearing a
but
bit of flag on your back this time, Scott.
No. But no, I'm gonna run the first half with the 2 hour pacer, and if it just feels hard but okay, then I'll stay with him. If it feels too hard, I'll slow down. But actually, if I feel really good, then I want to try and speed up just a touch, but literally just a touch. So I would say that 159 is where I'm aiming to be. But if that came in at 157, 158, I'd be over the moon. But just as long as it's sub 2 hours.
I think
If I don't go sub 2 hours, I don't want to say I've failed, but I've not achieved my goal.
I think it's well within you. I don't say that from a pressure point of view because I understand even seeing that can pile the pressure on. But I just think from how you've currently been running and like the improvements you've made, and the fact that you ran quite well when you ran Sunderland half, and that was so much time ago. I think it's an achievable goal.
Yeah,
I think just don't pile it.
I will say though, I had a bad experience yesterday that I've not mentioned yet. I've just put a video out tonight that talks about it briefly. But I had a bad experience yesterday. I bonked yesterday. I went for a 20k and I got to 17k and I fully bonked. I still kept running and I managed to get home, and my pace didn't drop too much overall, but I felt awful. It ruined my whole day. I felt really ill yesterday afternoon and last night. Up until probably early this afternoon, I've been feeling rotten. But I learned a really valuable lesson, and it's a Manjaro lesson that I've learned. I don't want to bang on about Manjaro, but obviously my food intake is down quite a bit, hence me losing weight. But I've really reduced my carbs last week without even thinking about it. I was eating lots of protein and stuff, but my carb intake was really low. And I was out on my run yesterday. And actually, honestly, for the first 15k or so, I felt absolutely fine. Felt no problem at all. I had a couple of gels, but then I got to 17k and I fell apart. And a bit of me is like, oh, shit. That's a week before I've got to do 21k, so I've just bonked. But I do know that it's because of the food intake. So I've really got
better to happen now than on the race day. At least you can identify it now and be aware of it.
Yeah, and I think what I need to figure out now is obviously I've got to do some form of carb loading because my carb intake is so low right now. I've got to do some form of carb loading, but it's knowing which day to start that. My idea in the moment, and I look to you guys for your advice from your experience, my advice at the moment is actually to do that from Friday. So Friday and Saturday with carbs and then run Sunday morning.
I would maybe go a little bit earlier so you don't have to load as much. So your body's just getting more conditioned. So even maybe Thursday night.
Yeah.
And rather than, because I think the problem with carb loading is people just think, oh, I'll just have like a dirty meal on the Saturday night full of carbs. And that's where you really feel it the next day. So I think just being more mindful of like from the Thursday evening even, or like, what have I eaten today? So you're thinking about it. And I think it might be a week just to like park any weight loss goals. Just it's all about, because there's that saying I always come back to where it's like skinny is faster but underfueled is inefficient, and I think that's so true in endurance running. Like you need to have something to burn off, like otherwise you will bonk.
Yeah,
it does happen. But your legs go and it's not nice.
And that's the difficult part for me. And you're absolutely right, Kayleigh. I know you're absolutely right. The problem I have is my dosage went up on Friday. I went from the 7.5 milligram to 10 milligram. When you got to 10 milligram, where I purchased my stuff from, it actually is the first time where they've said, oh, before we're going to issue this, we've got extra questions to ask you. Extra questions than I would normally get, because they say when you go to the 10 milligrams, it's basically, although it's only another gradual step, actually in terms of the amount of medication you'll get into, it makes a big difference compared to the previous ones. And that has, without a doubt, rung true. So I had that injection on Friday, and I'm really struggling to eat. Yeah, it's the truth. And I'm trying to, but it's making me feel ill. So I'm hoping through the week it wears it down.
Sorry, I was just going to... Sorry. Have you thought about, if you can't, obviously you're going to have to do some form of carb loading, like you were talking about your gels on the day. like maybe setting reminders on your watch or taking your first gel slightly earlier than you would have normally, so that you're not letting yourself become like deficient of carbs before. Do you know what I mean? So you just say you take it normally at 45 minutes, maybe you take it at 40 minutes instead, just so that you're not
5K.
Yeah, just
5K normally.
Just so you're not letting yourself go without, because it might be easier to get liquid in your liquid carbs if you're struggling, rather than trying to worry about. I mean, obviously, I do think you still need a carb load to a degree, and I'm no expert in nutrition. I just think sometimes with gels, it's like the ultimate thing. They say, don't they? Like some of the things I've read is like, try and do your whole food first, because gels are easier to take when you can't really get anything in, even though they sometimes make you feel sick. It's a way of getting something in your body.
I don't use gels at all in ultras.
Well, to be honest, Jamie, it's funny you should say that, because I only use one. On every training run, I've used one. And it's because usually I've had breakfast before I go out, and I have a decent breakfast. So I get to about 45 minutes and I have a gel rather than having food. And then after that, I just eat. And it's just what works for you, which I always think gels is a funny one anyway, because everyone reacts differently and there's so many different gels that you can take. But I just think maybe adjusting your timings might stop you from being without, if you'd feel like you've not loaded in the days leading up. But I don't know. It's one of those where I just maybe wouldn't try and bog down by it as well, because once it's in your head, you know.
No, I'm quite happy. I mean, I've done a few 17K runs late in the last few weeks, and they've all felt great. But I was also aware that the other ones I correctly carved up beforehand. This one I was well aware that I didn't have any carbs basically for a few days before, so I think my body was just depleted. So actually, I'm to try and flip it around into a positive. For me to get to 17K with no carbs in my body before I bonked, I'm actually quite happy about that in a sense, because it means if I do get the carbs in me and load properly, then I'll get to 21 no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, scary. It wasn't fun.
I also take a gel on the start line.
I do that with 5Ks, weirdly. Scott, you might remember when we were in Hartlepool, I had one just before we started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find it because I struggle. Well, in my half marathon yesterday, I did one gel. I think really I should have done two. I did take two. I took one on the start line and one at about halfway. Right. So it would be around 11K.
I shared a story the other day on Instagram. You know, it was, I think it might have been on Paula Radcliffe's channel, but it was somebody from High Five was actually talking about how the gels work quickly, and she talks about how you've got whatever inside your body that I can't even remember the words, but whatever your body needs to burn. When you take the gel has it sends a message to your brain, and then your brain tells your body to start doing things, which is why when you take a gel, you can actually get an energy boost quite quickly. It's not a case of getting it into you when you digest it, you get the carbs from that. No, it tells your body actually use what you've got now, and it's the sugar or whatever else in there that tells your brain to do that. It's actually really interesting. I'll try and reshare it again.
To do with your glycogen stores.
Glycogen levels,
That's the one. That's the word. Yeah.
And I think that's why they say you should never wait until you feel depleted before you have it. You should always have it just before.
Pop up.
There's a top up. But I know some people, like myself included, I've probably never taken more than two in a race. So marathon training worries me for that.
Well, their rookie numbers, got to pump them numbers up.
I know. Marathon, and I just think the thing with gels is like, I'm really funny about putting like, I've spent a lot of time choosing gels that are not really full of chemicals. I don't take anything with caffeine in, even though I love coffee. And I found like whole food gels work better for us as well. But the problem with it is they're so acidic, because they're like based on natural sugar and not like from fruit, rather than having all the other stuff in. And that's where I struggle, because my favourite are those a mango BPN gels. But they're so like, you literally take it and you're like,
they're the ones you got from the Sally McCrim. So.
Yeah, and then I bought another box. The only issue with it is you can only get them from America, and I love them, but the shipping is just extortionate on them. But Strategies in Velafort, Chris did some research, and they do like, the date ones are disgusting. They taste like cough medicine, but he says he thinks they're lovely, but I think they're vile. But they do like a black currant and elderflower one, which is quite nice. And like I think like a lemon and gingery type one. So I'm experimenting with them. But yeah, gels they're a funny beast, I think. Anyway, but it's just getting the timings right, I think, is half the battle.
Yeah, I still mess it up. Like yesterday, I don't know how you do it, Freddy, for like halves, but like I have a pacing strategy for halves. And I do 8K, 8K, 5K. And 8K easy, like in quotation marks. 8K work, and then 5K hard is how I try to do it. Like the final 5K is like empty the tank. But really, I think I should be 8K easy gel, 8K hard gel, and then you got that final gel, because I definitely should have had another one yesterday, because I really felt like I was about to just bonk as I went across that finish line. And the last 2K, I think if I had a gel, I don't think I would have bonked. I didn't quite bonk. I still like had good times, but my time had dropped by like 12 seconds a K, which is quite a lot for the last 2K. I think I would have really done it. It's a fine art. Like, I've overdone gels as well. When I used to race at Ironman, I had a horrible experience. I actually stopped using gels afterwards for years. So I had something ridiculous, like 15 gels in a race. It was a ridiculous amount of gels, like a genuine ridiculous. I was on the bike, and the bike is even more ridiculous, because you're just constantly just having food and gels, and then you get into the run and you got more gels, and then and they're all caffeine gels, and I had a really elevated heart rate all night. I couldn't get my heart rate like under 100, and I have like a resting heart rate of like 42. Like, it was just like on 100, and I just remember staring at the ceiling thinking I'm going to die. And that was awful. And I'm also a bit like you, Kayleigh, I'm sure you are, but I'm a big fan of like whole food diets in general. And yeah, I think gels are generally just for nonsense.
Yeah, you can get.
You made me. Go on, Freddy.
I was just going to say you can get them, but you've really got to hunt them out, ones that are like majority whole food, and that's what I've spent a lot of time looking into because of that reason. It's the not knowing what you're putting in your body that I don't really like. I'm the same with like electrolyte and stuff. I try and choose stuff that on the natural end, because I do think you need it, but it's finding that right one, because you don't know. People are so quick to like put stuff in their body without really thinking about what's in it, and I think that's such a big thing. But on the flip side of what you were saying, I've done the Great North Run, I think 8 times or 7 times, and I've only took gels on 2 of them. So I was the other way. I didn't feel at all. I just used to take water on races and could never understand why I got the 10 mile and nearly passed out. So to stop anybody else make this mistake that I made for years, because I was so scared to put these things in my body, like gels, you'll take a gel and go, oh, this is why I could never run the last 3 miles, because my body was dead. And then the first year I actually trained with them for a Great North Run, God, the difference and how much easier it was to run. But it wasn't just me. Chris was the same. We just didn't take anything, and we should survive on water. And like, I remember crossing the line the year before. It was the really hot year. It was quite warm that year. Like, it must have been 3 years ago or something. And my friend was taunting us at the finish line, and I was seeing spots. I was literally stood like, I'm beautiful. And she was going, drink this, eat this, drink it. And I was like, I didn't understand. And it was the other way. It was like, my glycogen stores were so depleted that my body was just like, no. Yeah, so take gels. Get some nice ones.
We're not coaches or nutritionists.
We're not coaches on you. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen somebody run a certain race in Leeds with a Scotch egg in one hand and a steak bake in the other. Just saying.
Oh, Mr. Noble.
That all flies perfectly fine at ultras, by the way.
Yeah. James is talking about taking a small crate of brew dogs.
Oh, no, not there. He hasn't run an ultra yet. I tell you what, fair play to him. When you're running that 100 miler this year, Scott, like, you should pick up. Did we mention that? No, we didn't mention that, did we?
We're banning it with the E word.
I never mentioned the E word. I just said 100 miler.
You've said it more than once, mate, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah. Kayleigh called you out for it once.
I did get called out for it once.
I think you've all said it, so you've all cancelled each other out, so no one owes anyone a drink in this one. I'll be you all fine.
I'm liking this maths. This maths is good.
Yeah.
Right,
But you did make me feel a little inferior, Jamie, before when you talked about you have a pacing strategy during a half marathon. My pacing strategy is find a pace and try and stick to it and just hold on as long as I can. It doesn't get broken up.
You did that 2 Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
I think you will actually start doing that now because you're becoming you're definitely becoming a more experienced racer now. And I think
What's the reason? It's gonna be really ignorant. What's the reasoning behind doing that? Why would you not
it's
just pick a
just
pace and stick to it?
because first of all, you really like that if you're going gold standard for like running races, you want to run negative splits. So I don't think that would have been possible yesterday, like for me personally, because of the headwind. I mean, it's borderline impossible to do that. But you want to be expending your energy the most towards the end, right? Because at the start, you've got adrenaline and all this good stuff. Holding, let's say for you, I actually looked up this pace, 5 minutes 40 per K, which is sub 2 hour pace. Yeah. If you're starting off at sub 2 hour pace at 5 minutes 40, that's actually going to feel really easy. Whereas if you start off at 5:45, I'd say probably a good one to start off. 5:50 might make the difference, and then speed it up. That the 5:40 actually will feel fine, and it's better to work into that faster pace rather than start off quite fast, and then you're going to feel quite fatigued, like about halfway in. Well, I find in half marathons is about that 17K area where you kind of can't quite see the finish, but you're nearly there, that kind of time. But as you're speeding up, it's also a good mental boost. Going like, oh, I'm now speeding up and I'm going to get to the finish faster rather than just sitting at a standard pace. Some people can do like positive splits, which generally means it's got a bit wrong, or like pure flat splits. To be fair, my race yesterday was pretty flat splits.
I guess having the pacer can obviously have an impact on that as well. So maybe it's actually worth having a chat with the pacer beforehand to find out what his strategy is.
I bet you he starts off slightly slower.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he starts off slightly under. The paces for my race yesterday came in dead on, dead on. All of them I saw up to like 2 hour. So it'd be worth asking him if he's going to go like solid splits or slightly negative. He probably would. They probably only slightly. No one's going to like do crazy negative splits.
No. And I'll be honest. I mean, depending on what happens there, the pacer for me will be somebody that I want to follow, but I'm not tied to it. I'm quite comfortable to pace myself.
Yeah,
my watch does that for me.
Also, what I say with the pacing as well, it's not necessarily just about like your actual pace. It's about breaking the race up into your head. Like, because the first 8K should feel easy. It should, like, for me yesterday, it felt, even though I was going, fast for me, it felt easy for racing. And then the next 8K just felt like the grunt work, which is, I think, how it should feel, because it's how you want it to feel. But it didn't feel like I was going to explode. When it's hard to explain, but we talked about it before. I mean, me and Scott talked about it, but like the flow state. Yeah. When you can just hit it and just not really think about it. And I think splitting the race up for me really is a really good mental thing. It's like, I've hit 8K, I'm now like, that's part one of my race done. There's 3 parts. Like, then it's the next 8K. This is the bit where I've just got to dig in and get it done. And the final 5K is just a park run to go, right? And it's a big mental win for me. And with marathons, it's slightly different. To me, I split them up into 4 10K segments and 2K of misery. It's just how I deal with it. Everyone could deal with it differently, but I'd like to compartmentalize stuff.
I agree with the fact that it takes your mind off what's going on, gives you something else to think about as well. If you've got some sort of idea what you're meant to be doing, I generally try and split flat. Probably end up being more positive because you always go off fast, or you always have the temptation to go off fast. But then I try and settle it down. I keep just the pace of that lap on my watch, the average pace of the lap, and just go off, literally run the mile you're in. But I think it helps to have an idea of where you should be, because it takes your mind off oh my god, I'm running really fast or whatever, Yeah,
I'll have Pace Pro on my watch, on my Garmin. I'll be using Pace Pro, so that gives me an indication of how many seconds I'm in front or behind where I should be. And I like that on Pace Pro as well. I do have mine set as a flat line so that my pacing doesn't change throughout the race. But I know on Garmin you can change that, can't you? So you can say to it, I want to do a positive split or a negative and speed up or whatever.
And adjust for hills and stuff as well.
Yeah, and actually, Scott, you've done this half before, haven't you?
Yep, did it. Yeah, last year. It was the first one last year. First one.
Can you do me a favour? I should maybe ask you this off camera. Could you try and download the GPX file for me from your race last year and send it across?
Yeah.
Do they not have it on the course website?
Oh, I don't know.
They're normally, like, GPX files normally available on the website.
Oh, I'll have a look. I can chuck it on my Garmin.
To run through event, you should have had the email last couple of days with the start.
Yeah, they generally have it on the site.
There you go.
47.
Yeah.
Just quick question. This is also probably could be an off-camera question. Are we going to get a little thing to follow?
Yeah, you will. I'll drop a link in again. Yeah.
It's exciting. I'm actually really excited now.
Just to add to the pressure, I'll put a live link out for everyone to look at.
I'll be there cheering you on, so that's even more pressure.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I'd have done my long run, and I'll probably be on the sofa.
Yeah.
But I'll be thinking about you, mate.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. Well, listen, it's been, in fact, I'm just looking. Do you know what? This is now officially our longest podcast by going to be at least a minute.
I blame Kayleigh.
I know, I'm so sorry, everyone. I do think sometimes we wait around and I think poor people, if people are training for anything and listen to this, they'll be thinking, God, like felt like the longest run ever.
Well, if anybody is listening to this and you're perhaps doing even a half marathon like we just talked about and you're trying to get under 2 hours for the first time, you've got 9 minutes to go, so keep moving and get yourself across that line.
You can do this. You've got this.
Yeah. But guys, it's been great catching up again. Really good to see you all. And anyone that's listening, thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're doing this on YouTube. And give us a little a mention on Spotify where you can leave a review or whatever. I don't think we've had any reviews yet. So if anyone wants to leave one, as long as I remember to upload this to Spotify, I think I might have one or two that I haven't done in the last of them.
I mean, that does help, mate.
Yeah, it does. It does. I've been quite slack, but I will get this one out. But no, good to see you all. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.